The Amazing Race Australia 1. The Amazing Race Australia 1 is the first season of the Australian reality television game show The Amazing Race Australia, the Australian version of The Amazing Race. The first season features 11 teams of 2 in a pre-existing relationship, in a race around the world to win the grand prize of. The show was produced by activeTV Australia. The show premiered on Australia's 7 network on 16 May 2011 at 8:30 p.m. The season finale was aired on 1 August 2011. Best Friends and surfers Tyler Atkins and Nathan Jolliffe were the winners of the season. Filming and development. Filming began on 5 November 2010 at the Melbourne Cricket Ground in Melbourne. The season travelled across 4 continents, 11 countries and 23 cities. Some of the countries visited during the series include Indonesia and Israel. Indonesia was later visited in the 19th series of the original American version in October 2011, while Israel has never been visited by other version of The Amazing Race outside of Israel's own version. During the Vietnam leg, all route markers were coloured yellow and green instead of yellow and red. This was done to avoid confusion with the former South Vietnamese national flag, which is also yellow and red. The route markers for the Vietnam leg were similar to those used in Acorda Milionaria, the Brazilian version of The Amazing Race. A majority of the legs in this season used tasks from The Amazing Race Asia. Tasks in legs 1, 11, and 12 were from The Amazing Race Asia 4, while tasks in legs 2 and 3 were from The Amazing Race Asia 3, and tasks in leg 6 were from The Amazing Race Asia 2. Casting. Application deadline for the first series closed on 17 September 2010, extended from 6 September 2010 initially, with the applicants required to be at least 18 years old with citizenship or permanent residency. However, due to insurance issues overseas, the minimum age for applicants was raised from 18 to 21 years of age. Marketing. The Amazing Race Australia is sponsored by Canon, National Australia Bank, Honda, Vodafone and Glory Jeans Coffees. The Amazing Race Australia also had an app for Android, iPhone and BlackBerry where the user could track the teams and watch full episodes. Cast. The cast included married fitness entrepreneurs, farmers, friends of Egyptian descent, models, Big W workmates and reunited sisters. Notably, Nathan, who teamed up with Tyler, is the boyfriend of 2006 Miss Australia, Erin McNaught. Renee was also the runner-up of Miss Universe Australia 2010. Entrepreneurs Richard and Joy Mock are the authors of Please Mum, Don't Supersize Me. Ross and Liberty are the brother and sister of the comedian Rebel Wilson. Dating couple Chris and Anastasia have since split up, although they deny that their relationship was negatively affected by television exposure. Future appearances. Nathan Jolliffe later competed in the second season of the Celebrity Apprentice Australia on the 9 network, in which he came second, losing to music guru Ian Dixon. In the final challenge, he raised $80,000 for his charity Epilepsy Australia. Richard and Joey had a television show on Foxtel called Feel Good TV. After this season, Mel Great replaced Maud Garrett as a co-host of the Hot 30 Countdown on the Today Radio Network, where she later gained international notoriety for her role in a controversial prank call to an English hospital, which was treating Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, for morning sickness. Subsequently, she also appeared on the 4th season of the Celebrity Apprentice Australia. She was eliminated in episode 8 and raised $10,000 for Endometriosis Australia. Mo El-Lessi had a role on a Muslim sketch comedy show on SBS called Legally Brown. In 2019, Sam Scholes competed in the 6th season of Australian Survivor. She was eliminated on day 16 and finished in 18th place. Results. The following teams participated in the season, each listed along with the placements in each leg. Note that this table is not necessarily reflective of all content broadcast on television due to inclusion or exclusion of some data. Placements are listed in finishing order. A placement with a dagger indicates that the team was eliminated, and placement with the double dagger indicates that the team was the last to arrive at a pit stop in a non-elimination leg, and was marked for elimination in the following leg. An italicized and underlined placement indicates that the team was the last to arrive at pit stop, but there was no rest period at the pit stop and all teams were instructed to continue racing. A indicates that the team won the fast forward. It indicates that the team used an express pass on that leg to bypass one of their tasks. It indicates that the team used a U-turn, and it indicates the team on the receiving end of a U-turn. It indicates that the teams encountered an intersection. Notes. Prizes. The prize for each leg, with the exception of leg 7, was awarded to the first place team for that leg. Leg 1 $10,000 from National Australia Bank and the express pass an item that can be used to skip any one task of the team's choosing. Leg 2 2 tickets to the 2011 AFL Grand Final at the Melbourne Cricket Ground and a VIP tour of the National Sports Museum. Leg 3 $8,000 from National Australia Bank. Leg 4 a $5,000 shopping spree at Kathmandu. Leg 5 a $5,000 home entertainment system from Bingley. Leg 6 a $5,000 shopping spree at Kathmandu. Leg 8 $8,000 from National Australia Bank. Leg 9 a $5,000 personal computer package from Bingley. Leg 10 $8,000 from National Australia Bank. Leg 11 a $5,000 home entertainment system from Bingley. Leg 12 at $150,000. Leg 1 Australia Right Arrow Indonesia. Leg 1 Australia Right Arrow Indonesia. Date 16 May 2011 Melbourne, Victoria. Australia East Melbourne Cricket Ground starting line Melbourne Airport to Denpasar, Bali. Indonesia Ngurah International Airport Denpasar Blue Water Express Mataram. Lombok Tanjung Khan Fishing Village Linsa Pura Linsa Mataram Mandalika Market Malacca Malambu Beach to Gili Trawangan Main Beach Gili Trawangan and Halleck Reef Gili Trawangan Sunset Point. In this series' first roadblock at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, one team member had to scale 75 metres up one of the 6 light towers, retrieve their next clue, and abseil to their partner. This series' first detail was a choice between cash or carry. In cash, teams had to make and sell 15 balls of Baxter for no less than Rp 5,000 per ball before exchanging their earnings with the stall owner for their next clue. In carry, both team members had to carry a basket of produce on their heads from one market stall to another, without dropping the baskets to receive their next clue. Additional tasks at Blue Water Express, teams had to sign up for one of 3 boats leaving for Lombok. The first boat, which left at 6:00 am, had room for the first 3 teams, while the remaining boats, leaving in 30-minute intervals after the first boat, would carry 4 teams each. At Tanjung Karang Fishing Village, teams had to search for their next clue, which was hidden under the nets of a fishing boat or map at beach. At Puralingsa Temple, teams had to run through a rice cake war ritual called Pan Topper, where they were pelted with rice cakes and powder by locals to retrieve their next clue. From Malambu Beach, teams had to ride an outrigger to Gili Trawangan. Once there, both team members had to don snorkeling gear and swim to Halleck Reef, where one member had to retrieve a briefcase from the reef. After returning a beach hut on shore, teams had to correctly count the money in the briefcase, where totals varied from team to receive their next clue, instructing them to travel by a horse-drawn carriage called a stomo to the pit stop. Leg 2 Indonesia Right Arrow Vietnam. Leg 2 Indonesia Right Arrow Vietnam. Edit 23 May 2011 Mataram Tanjung Khan Fishing Village pit stop at Mataram Selapan Airport for Denpasar Ngurah International Airport to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Tan Son and Hat International Airport to Ho Chi Minh City. Saigon Opera House Ho Chi Minh City. Tan Son and Hat International Airport to HU Lithuania BF by International Airport HU Lithuania BFTO Lithuania Nisavnan Thanam Lithuania A1 I Garage HU Lithuania BFB Lithuania B1 and G Chicken Farm or Rice Paddy Field UNTH Lithuania A7 by KH Lithuania A3 ID stroke Lithuania CBNH Team UN Tramin Lithuania A1 and G Team and UNTH Lithuania A7 by KH Lithuania A3 ID stroke Lithuania CBNH Team HU Lithuania BFHU Lithuania BF Citadel. This leg's detail was a choice between carry foul or carabao. In carry foul, teams had to travel to be Lithuania B1 and G Chicken Farm, where they had to gather 20 live chickens and carry them in Don guns to Mark's stall at a nearby market to receive their next clue. In Carabao, teams had to travel to a rice paddy, where they would use a water buffalo drawn plough to till the soil until the plough caught on the buried rope attached to an amazing race flag, which they could exchange for their next clue. In this SZECH roadblock, one team member had to retrieve 7 coins representing the 7 emperors of the NGU Y letter 1 EC5 Han dynasty, main M letter 1 EA1 NG tomb, then bring them back to KH letter 1 EA3 RD stroke letter 1 ECV and H tomb, where they would find out that they had to place the coins in the correct order of the reign of the emperors to receive their next clue. Each table with a coin at min M letter 1 EA1 NG tomb also had information about the reigns of the corresponding emperor, and racers could return to the tomb to obtain this information. Additional tasks outside the Saigon Opera House, teams had to search amongst hundreds of women wearing non-laws to find the woman that had their team name written on her fan, which they could exchange for their next clue. At TO letter 1 EA7 and Thanem letter 1 EA1 I garage, teams had to change the 2 rear tires and motor oil of a marked Xomi Jeep to receive the next clue. Teams would then use the Jeep as their transportation for the rest of the leg. Additional note: at the start of the leg, teams could either take a fast boat back to Denpasar to take a flight to Ho Chi Minh City or take a flight directly from the island of Lombok. Leg 3 Vietnam right arrow Hong Kong right arrow MACAU. Leg 3 Vietnam right arrow Hong Kong right arrow MACAU. Edit 30 May 2011 HU letter 1 EBFU by International Airport at Chek Lap Kok, Hong Kong, China. Hong Kong International Airport, Southern District, Aberdeen Marine Club to Aberdeen Harbour Jumbo Floating Restaurant. Eastern District in High Temple, Kowloon City District, Kowloon Walt City Park Central and Western District, Hong Kong MACAU Ferry Terminal to Frigija Dorsey. MACAU Outer Harbour Ferry Terminal Zona Dia Deo de Cote the Venetian MACAU Frigija de Sao Francisco Xavier, a more cultural village. This season's only fast forward required one team to perform a ritual that Buddhist monks and nuns usually perform for spiritual growth, completely shaving their heads. Once both team members' hair was cut, they would win the fast forward award. Richard and Joey won the fast forward. The SZECH data was a choice between lion dance or kung fu stance. For both data options, teams had to travel to Kowloon Walled City Park. In lion dance, teams had to dress up and perform a traditional lion dance to the lion dance master's satisfaction to receive their next clue. In kung fu stance, teams had to perform a series of precise kung fu moves to the kung fu master's satisfaction. Then both team members had to break 6 clay tiles to receive their next clue. In this SZECH roadblock, one team member had to arrange 12 paper lanterns depicting the animals of the Chinese zodiac in chronological order using clues given to them in their clue. Once the animals were in the correct order of rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, duck, and pig, a gate would open allowing teams entrance to the pit stop. Sam and Uni used the express pass to bypass the roadblock. Additional tasks at Jumbo Floating Restaurant, teams had to bite into over 1,000 fortune cookies until they found one with a specific message inside telling them to receive their next clue from the waiter. After arriving in MACAU by Turbo JT, teams had to travel to the Venetian MACAU, where they had to don formal wear before playing baccarat with a dealer. Each time teams won the game, they would earn a mod and letter tile, and after they won 10 games, the titles would reveal their next location, Amor Village. Leg 4 MACAU right arrow South Africa. Leg 4 MACAU right arrow South Africa. Edit 6 June 2011 Frigija de Santo Antonio ruins of St. Paul's pit stall at Frigija de Nossa Senhora do Carmo, MACAU International Airport or Chek Lap Kok, Hong Kong International Airport to Port Elizabeth, South Africa Port Elizabeth International Airport Grofrenet Canterbury National Park Valley of Desolation Port Elizabeth Craigacama Game Park Garden Road National Park Blacklands British Ada Nomathan Sandga Ada Elephant National Park. The SZECH data was a choice between Smash or Bash. For both data options, teams had to drive to Craigacama Game Park. In Smash, teams had to throw a traditional South African club called the knob carry and shatter 4 suspended pots from a distance to receive their next clue. In Bash, teams had to build a large giraffe feeder, using only the tools and materials provided to the satisfaction of the park ranger to receive their next clue. In this leg's roadblock, one team member had to perform the world's highest bridge bungee jump off of the Blackrands Bridge from a height of 216 meters to receive their next clue. Additional tasks upon arrival in Port Elizabeth, teams had to search the airport car park for a Martiosa Hilux with a clue inside the windscreen that instructed teams to drive to Canterbury National Park and search the Valley of Desolation for their next clue. In LANKA, teams had to find a goat pen, collect a goat and deliver it to a witch doctor known as a Sangoma. Teams then had to pronounce a Xhosa phrase and receive a blessing from the Sangoma before receiving their next clue. Leg 5 South Africa. Leg 5 South Africa. Edit 13 June 2011 Port Elizabeth International Airport to Cape Town International Airport Cape Town Dolphin Beach Melkbos Strip Cape Town Victoria and Alfred Waterfront Nobel Square Cape Town Cargo Warehouse Cape Town Carriage Ntayambo Orphanage Pole Valley Gun Club or Nelson's Creek Way in the state Atlantis Dunes Cape Town Roads Memorial. In this leg's roadblock, teams had to drive themselves to Melkbos Airstrip. There, one team member had to perform a tandem skydive from a height of 9,000 foot. The non-participating team member had to help guide their partner to the landing zone using signal flares. After team members reunited, the instructor would hand them the next clue. This leg's detour was a choice between guns or assay. In guns, teams had to shoot 9 moving clay targets using a shotgun at the Valley Gun Club to receive their next clue. Team members had to alternate shooting after 5 shots. In assay, teams had to roll a large wine barrel across the Nelson's Creek wine estate to a winning station and completely fill the barrel with rosé to receive their next clue. Additional tasks at Nobel Square, teams encountered an intersection, which required the 2 intersector teams to load 2 trailers with toys and supplies at cargo warehouse and deliver them to Ntayambo Orphanage. Once all the materials were delivered, the teams would receive their next clue and were no longer intersected. At Atlantis Dunes, teams had to drive quad bikes to an area filled with 15 overturned baskets. Underneath 3 baskets were teams' next clue, while the rest contained hourglasses of varying sizes. Teams had to overturn and wait for the sand to run out before they could continue. Leg 6 South Africa right arrow Netherlands right arrow Czech Republic. Leg 6 South Africa right arrow Netherlands right arrow Czech Republic. Edit 20 June 2011 Cape Town International Airport to Amsterdam, Netherlands Amsterdam Airport Schiphol Amsterdam Van Bellestraat Howard Hollands Jebbekom Amsterdam Central Station to Prague, Czech Republic Praha H. Hlavní nádraží, Prague Powder Tower Prague Charles Bridge Statue of Street Vitus Prague Old Town Square and Hotel U Prince or Street Agnes of Bohemia Convent and Kinskute Palace Prague Exterior Leke Ellen Prague Castle. This leg's detour was a choice between chivalry or delivery. In chivalry, teams had to don knight's armor in Old Town Square and search for a key master, who would give them a key by asking, "Do you have a key to a damsel's heart?" They then had to search the square for a damsel in distress near the Prince Hotel U Prince and exchange the key for their next clue. In delivery, teams had to carry a young princess in a royal sedan chair from the Street Agnes of Bohemia Convent to Kinskute Palace to receive their next clue. In this leg's roadblock, teams had to travel to Exterior Leke Island and find a medieval village, where one team member had to hit a target in the archery range twice in 40 attempts to receive their next clue. If their arrow struck a bullseye, they would also receive a $50 like money bonus from National Australia Bank. Additional tasks at Howard Hollands Jibbekraw. Each team member had to eat toppelbollen, a Belgian pastry popular in the Netherlands that is made out of a whole called apple wrapped in puff pastry, to receive their next clue. The first 4 teams to finish their toppelbollen would receive tickets for a sleeping car on a 15-hour train ride to Prague, Czech Republic, while the remaining 3 teams were given tickets for standard seats on a passenger car. At the Powder Tower, teams had to search nearby for their clue, which instructed teams to search the Charles Bridge for Holy Statue to find their next clue. Leg 7 Czech Republic. Leg 7 Czech Republic. Edit 27 June 2011 Prague Dancing House Prague Hatchets Ivana Stadium Prague St. Nicholas Church Plzen Pilsner Urquell Brewery or Formanka Restaurant Kutnohor Church of the Assumption of Our Lady and St. John the Baptist Kutnohor Church of Bones. This legs data was a choice between Stack Up or Stack In. In Stack Up, teams went into the Pilsner Urquell brewery, where they had to stack 2 pallets with cases with 45 Pilsner beer cartons each to receive their next clue. In Stack In, teams had to consume 18 traditional Czech sausages called jatines, which were made from pig offal, to receive their next clue. In this legs roadblock, one team member had to climb to the top of the church, then abseil down to the church floor, with the church choir singing accompanying them on the way down to receive their next clue from a priest. Additional tasks at the dancing house, teams had to search nearby for a 1982 Skoda sedan, which contained their next clue and would be their only means of transportation while in the Czech Republic. At a CZECH stadium, teams had to score 1 goal against the Czech national hockey team goaltender to receive their next clue. At St. Nicholas Church, teams had to collect cameras and climb to the top of the cathedral tower 304 steps high to a former Soviet spy post, whereupon they had 30 seconds to locate and photograph a man waving an amazing race flag, listed in a clue as a flight person of interest, and not the type waving a flag advertising a local museum. If teams took a picture of the correct man, they received the next clue. Otherwise, they had to return to the bottom of the tower and, whilst climbing back up, count the number of steps to receive their next clue. If teams gave an incorrect number, they had to climb up the steps again. Leg 8 Czech Republic right arrow Poland. Leg 8 Czech Republic right arrow Poland. Edit 4 July 2011 Kutnoho H Hlavní nádraží Krakow, Poland, Krakow Zielony Railway Station, Krakow Main Square and Wielicka Salt Mines at Kapane Polish countryside or Korks Mazosite Jaw Restaurant Seazorst and Cape Style Janizika Castle. In this legs roadblock, one team member had to descend 100 meters into a salt mine and push a cart containing rock salt to the end of a mine shaft. They then had to dig through the cart to find crystal keys, one of which would unlock the Salt King's Crypt containing their next clue. This legs eater was a choice between herd or hodown. In herd, teams had to travel into the Polish countryside, where they had to build a pen using the provided fences and herd 3 sheep marked with a red stripe into it to receive their next clue from a shepherd. In hodown, teams had to travel to Korks Mazosite Jaw Restaurant, where they had to don Polish island clothing and learn and perform a Polish axe dance to the satisfaction of the village judge to receive their next clue. Additional tasks after arriving in Krakow, teams had to search the railway station car park for a marked Honda CRZ along with their next clue in the vehicle's windshield. At Cape Station, teams encountered an intersection where 2 members of the intersected teams at the time had to cut 4 slices off of a large log using a 2-man saw to receive their next clue. Teams had to swap the people sawing after each slice. After completing the task, teams were no longer intersected. Leg 9 Poland right arrow Israel. Leg 9 Poland right arrow Israel. Date 11 July 2011 Krakow Don Paul Roman II International Airport at Tel Aviv, Israel Ben Gurion Airport Tel Aviv, Azrieli Center Tel Aviv Savador Central Railway Station to Haifa Center HSH Mona Railway Station Haifa Port of Haifa Dafa Hassan Theatre Tel Aviv Jerusalem Beach Southern District Masada. In this legs roadblock, teams had to first travel by train to the port of Haifa, where one team member had to rig a container truck, drive it through an obstacle course, and reverse the containers into loading space to receive their next clue. This legs detour was a choice between find unseen or make 13. For both detour options, teams had to travel to Jerusalem Beach. In find unseen, teams had to use a metal detector to search marked area for the 1 key that would unlock a chest containing their next clue. In make 13, teams had to play MACAU, a traditional Israeli bat and ball game similar to beach tennis. They had to hit a ball back and forth 13 times without letting it hit the ground to receive their next clue. Additional tasks at Azrieli Center, teams had to make their way to the helipad of the tallest of the 3 towers to find their next clue. At Hassan Theatre, one team member had to answer 5 questions, and the partner had to match the answers to receive the next clue. Class equals Wicketable style equals text align center. Row span equals 2 questions. Call span equals 5 answers. Dave and Kelly, Jeff and Luke, Matt and Tom, Sam and Renee, Taylor and Nathan. Which team's relationship do you envy? Dave and Kelly Tyler, and Nathan, Jeff and Luke Tyler, and Nathan, Jeff and Luke. Which team would be first to lend you a helping hand? Sam and Renee, Matt and Tom, Jeff and Luke, Anne Marie and Tracy, Chris and Anastasia. If the race was a foursome player, which team would you pair up with? Alana and Mel Tyler, and Nathan, Jeff and Luke Tyler, and Nathan, Jeff and Luke. Which team has been the most strategic? Jeff and Luke, Matt and Tom Tyler, and Nathan, Richard and Joey. Apart from your own team, which team most deserves to win? Sam and Renee Tyler, and Nathan, Jeff and Luke, Matt and Tom, Sam and Renee. After the data, teams had to find a marked Honda Civic and drive themselves to the ancient Masada ruins to check into the pit stop. Added on note, Dave and Kelly failed to reach the Masada pit stop. After all other teams had already checked in at the pit stop, Grant came out to their location to inform them of their elimination. Leg 10 Israel. 18 July 2011, Southern District, Masada Winter Palace of King Herod Kalia, West Bank Command, Jerusalem Central Post Office Building, Jerusalem Old City Via Dolorosa, and Church of the Holy Sepulchre, Western Wall and City of David, Jerusalem Dungate, Jerusalem Aish Hatar World Center. In this leg's roadblock, one team member had to translate a Hebrew message written from right to left on a scroll resembling the Dead Sea Scrolls using a translation guide, and then transcribe the message left to right to receive their next clue. This leg's detail involving religious aspects of the Holy City and was a choice between Pilgrim's Trail or Holy Grail. In Pilgrim's Trail, teams had to travel to the Old City, pick up an 80 kilograms wooden cross and carry it along the Via Dolorosa, passing by the 9 stations of the cross, the path Jesus is said to have taken along to the site of his crucifixion, to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre to receive their next clue. In Holy Grail, teams had to travel to the Western Wall and enter an active archaeological dig site in the Kotal tunnels. There, teams had to unearth a clay pot and then walk through the tunnels to deliver it to an archaeologist in the city of David to receive their next clue. Additional tasks at the start of the leg, teams had to take a cable car up to the ruins to find the Winter Palace of King Herod, where they would find their next clue, instructing them to drive to site where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered to find their next clue. During the pit stop, teams recorded messages to their loved ones at home and had to hold onto the memory cards until they reached the Central Post Office building, where they had to mail their record messages home to receive their next clue. After the data, teams had to walk along the rampart walk near Dungate to find their next clue. Leg 11 Israel Right Arrow Sri Lanka. Leg 11 Israel Right Arrow Sri Lanka. Air date 25 July 2011, Jerusalem Dungate Pit Start Tel Aviv Ben Gurion Airport to Colombo, Sri Lanka Bantar Anak International Airport, Colombo Gangaramaya Temple Colombo, Pedder Street John's Fish Market Colombo Fort Railway Station to Gola Gola Railway Station, Gola Gola Fort Gola Gola Bus Station to Ambalangoda the train station, Mass Stall Vendor New Jagoda Trendy Connections Government Factory Colombo Independence Square. The selects detail was a choice between count or carry. In count, teams had to find a mock stall with a basket full of fish and correctly count the number of fish to receive their next clue. In carry, teams had to use a wooden trolley to transfer 15 blocks of unbroken ice through a busy market to a marked stall to receive their next clue. In this leg's roadblock, one team member had to use an industrial sewing machine to properly sew fabric cuttings into a shirt to receive their next clue. Additional tasks at Gangaramaya Temple, teams had to receive a blessing from a monk before receiving their next clue. After the detour, teams had to travel by third-class train to Gola, then make their way to Gola Fort to find their next clue. At Gola Fort, teams had to unlock a chest with the Sri Lanka gained independence from the United Kingdom, 1948. Inside the chest was a clue that asked for the year of birth of Sri Lanka's first Prime Minister D. Seth Sinanaik, 1884, to open a second chest containing their next clue. At Ambalangoda train station, teams had to find a mask stall vendor. There, teams had to memorize a mask and then search a nearby street festival for a person wearing a matching mask to receive their next clue. Additional note, Jeff and Luke bought second-class tickets on the train to Gola, when the clue instructed them to purchase third-class tickets. For this, they incurred a 10-minute penalty before leaving Gola Station. Leg 12 Sri Lanka Rai, Arrow Singapore Ride, Arrow Australia. Leg 12 Sri Lanka right arrow, Singapore right arrow, Australia. Air date 1 August 2011, Colombo Bandar International Airport to Singapore, Changi Airport, Singapore Go, Chor to Petkon Chinese Temple, Singapore Marina Bay Sands, Singapore Hang Seng Sea Terrace Temple, Singapore Daejeon Chinese Garden, Singapore Flyer, Singapore Changi Airport to Perth, Western Australia. Australia Perth Airport, Perth City Centre, Kings Park Overlook, Fremantle Prison, Rockingham, Cape Town, Perth, Ayerson Island. This season's final detour at Marina Bay Sands was a choice between dare or stare. In dare, teams had to take an elevator to the 55th floor of Tower 1. There, both team members had to traverse a tightrope to Tower 2 and back to receive their clue. In stare, teams had to climb the stairs up to the 55th floor of Tower 1, collect a Singaporean plush toy souvenir, climbs the stairs back down, and then climb the stairs of Tower 2 to the 56th floor, where they could exchange the souvenir for their next clue. In this season's final roadblock, one team member had to pick out 12 flags out of a basket of 16, with the flags of the Philippines, Morocco, Vanuatu, and Greenland as decoys, and arrange the flags of the countries they visited during the season in chronological order: Australia, Indonesia, Vietnam, China, South Africa, Netherlands, Czech Republic, Poland, Israel, Sri Lanka, Singapore, and Australia. Once all flags were in the correct order, teams would receive their final clue from a geography professor. Additional tasks at Go Chor to Petkon Chinese Temple. Teams had to break open durians until they found one with red-coloured flesh inside to receive their next clue from a Chinese opera troupe. At Hang Seng Sea Terrace Temple, teams had to participate in a 5-minute palm reading from a fortune teller before receiving their next clue. At Daejeon Chinese Gardens, teams had to search for a statue of Confucius that would lead them to their next clue. At the Singapore Flyer, teams had to choose one of the 28 Ferris wheel capsules and read the envelope inside. Only 3 capsules contained the next clue, while the rest contained envelopes that told teams to try again. If teams picked an incorrect capsule, they had to wait out the 21-minute rotation before they could attempt another pick. At Fremantle Prison, teams would be given 12 keys that they had to use to search the cells of the prison until they found a cell with their next clue. Teams had to lock each door they opened before they could continue searching. Episode title quotes. Episode titles are often taken from quotes made by the racers. 1. Nothing smooth sailing with us racing. 2. Like 4 seasons in a day, Chris. 3. We've got pain, but we've not lost any weight, Anne Marie. 4. A town that was 15 minutes 20 letters long, Nathan. 5. The woman nests to realise where you went wrong, Chris. 6. The last team will spend the night in the dungeon, last clue paraphrased. 7. It's just like Where's Wally, Tom. 8. At least the view's nice, Chris. 9. When I saw everyone freezing to death, Kelly. 10. I hope we don't have to wear a crown of thorns, Tom. 11. You're the nice cowboy Israeli taxi driver to Matt and Tom. 12. You're good at spending money, Tyler, and Nathan's fortune teller in Mandarin Chinese through a translator. Ratings. Hash episode title: Edit viewers, nightly viewers, rant West Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth. 1 Nothing smooth sailing with us, Indonesia, 16 May 2011, 338,437,180, 3,124,002. The end in the beginning / like 4 seasons in a day. Vietnam, 23 May 2011, 340,400, 3,177,113,000 feet. Chinese zodiac / we got paying, but we not lost any way at China, 30 May 2011, 305,413,165,115,004. A time that was 15 minutes 20 letters long. South Africa, 6 June 2011, 307,390, 3,160, 1,130, 3,005. / the woman nests to realise where you went wrong. South Africa, 13 June 2011, 336,386,100 360,143,006. The last team will spend the night in the dungeon. Netherlands and Czech Republic. 20 June 2011, 337,410,100, 99,112,007. Czech for Warriors / It's Just Like Where's Wally. Czech Republic. 27 June 2011, 312,352,149,123,008. Polish Nightmare / At Least the Views. Nice Poland. 4 July 2011, 271,344,167,110,009. Desert Odyssey / When I Saw Everyone Freezing to Death. Israel. 11 July 2011, 301,335,149,097,010. Pilgrim's Trail / I Hope We Don't Have to Wear a Crown of Thorns. Israel. 18 July 2011, 303,344,175,125,011. You the Nice Cowboy. Sri Lanka. 25 July 2011, 253,343,143,118,012. Finale / A Good Spending Money. Singapore and Australia. 1 August 2011, 293,408,160, 2,121,000.